Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Mommy Loves to Read. I'm Olivia and thank you for joining me today. So, today I'm here to do my March wrap up and talk to you guys about all the books I read in March. But first, before I begin, I guess I should not act like it's been like 2 months since I made a video. So I was thinking we're just gonna pretend, you know how you have those friends and maybe y'all live in different cities so y'all don't see each other all the time, and so it might be a couple of months before y'all get together or a couple of months before y'all talk, but then when y'all do get together you just kind of pick up where you left off. So that's what this is going to be. We're just going to pick up where we left off and pretend I've been making videos even though it's been like 2 or 3 months, because you know life has been life, and I feel like I say that all the time in my videos, but it's really true. You know, life got busy and all these things, and then it slowed all the way down. So now I have time to make these videos. So yes, March was a really good reading month for me. I had spring break, and so I had a whole week off from work, and then after spring break, you know, some things happened, and I have been off ever since. So I was able to read quite a few books, so I'm here to share these books with you guys and just catch up and see how you guys are doing. So first off, hey, how's everyone doing? How was March for you? If you did go to anywhere for spring break, go ahead and comment down below and let me know where you went for spring break and how was it? Did you like it? Me and my family drove to Florida. And we live in Texas, so we drove to Destin, Florida, my husband, myself, and my 3 kids. And it was really, really fun. We had a good time. We spent a lot of time at the beach. We ate a lot of good food, and I read a lot of books. So I'm going to go ahead and share those with you. So one of the books that I read, actually when we were in Florida, was this lovely book, and it is the #1 ladies detective agency. Okay guys, so I have a story. I always have a story behind something. So there's a local bookstore in my area that does like a semi-annual sale every day, and everything is like $1 and under. And so I saw this book and I had to grab it, one, because it was only $1, and two, like, I don't know, a few years back on HBO, I watched this show, the #1 Lady Detective Agency, and I fell in love with it. It's the coolest show ever. Jill Scott is in it and a bunch of other cool people, and it was just the best show ever. And so when I saw the book, I was like, I have to get this book. I have to get this book. And let me tell you, it did not disappoint. This was the best book ever. It's so like good. It's about a woman, and her father dies and he leaves her a bunch of cattle, and so she sells the cattle to buy this. She wants to be a detective, so she buys like a building and turns it into the #1 detective agency. And she is in, oh goodness, why can't I remember where she is? It's not Mozambique. This is really gonna bother me. Gaborone. But what country is it in? Tanzania. Y'all, I don't know why I don't remember what country she's in. That's gonna bug me. And then watch, as soon as I'm done with this video, it's gonna pop in my head. But anyway, so she opens up this agency, and so it's kind of just talking about, at first a lot of people weren't very receptive because they were like, you're a woman, you can't be a detective and all this stuff. But in the end, she has great success, and I like really, really love this book. And I think it was meant for me to read this book because I read this book, and then, like I said, I came back from spring break and I didn't have to go to work for that week. Well, I haven't been back, but originally it was just a week. And so I went to my mom's house one day and I was looking through her books, because she has a ton of books. And I actually found the 2nd book in this series. So I was really excited. I haven't read it yet, but I'm really excited to read it. And then, since I was home for all that time, I went ahead and downloaded like HBO Now. And I watched the whole, it's a series. So I watched every single episode in the series of the #1 Lady Detective Agency. So since I know everyone's home and y'all might have some time on your hand, stop what you're doing right now. Go download the HBO Now app and watch the #1 Ladies Detective Agency series, and then come back and tell me what you think. And then go ahead and read the book. I promise it won't disappoint. It was so, so good, and I'm so glad I found this book and I was able to read it. So yes, that was a good read. The next book that I read for the month of March was An American Marriage. I actually read this for my book club, and I was so excited to read it. And then I was a little sad because I was like, oh no, we're not going to be able to meet. But we actually did like a Zoom book club meeting, so that was actually kind of fun and exciting. And we just did it yesterday. I know it's April, but you know, stuff happened. So yes, this book was really, really good. In this book, you are following a newlywed couple. They've been married for about 1.5 years. And the husband is accused of this crime. He's accused of raping an elderly woman. And so he is sent to prison for 5 years, and it kind of follows their journey in their marriage and kind of how this sentence affected them in this time. He winds up losing his mother. His marriage kind of falls apart, but it's kind of like a little bit uncertain, and he's trying to like deal with that from being in prison, and his wife is kind of moving on with her life and becoming this really successful like artist, while he's kind of like stopped because he's trying to declare his innocence and all those things. So when he is finally, they realize that he is innocent after 5 years. He winded up only serving 5 years. He comes out and he is trying to kind of like reclaim his life. And so it's following that journey. And it was actually really interesting to read. I like this book because there was a lot of talking points. And so when we read when I read this book and then we talked about it with my book club, it was very interesting. I'm sorry guys, I have like a hair is right there on my eye and it's bugging me. But when I talked about it with my book club, we all agreed that we all liked the book. Everyone liked the book. Me and another lady were both kind of saying how like we didn't like the ending, because when you read this book, I honestly thought it was going to be like this love story and they were just going to like fight for their marriage and do all these things, and he was going to come out and they were going to fall in love and have kids and be like happy. And it's not really how it happened. I guess it did have like a happy ending. Everyone in the end was happy, but it's not happy in the way that kind of like I thought it was going to be, or some of the other people in the group. So it was really interesting to read. And like I said, if you are a part of a book club and maybe you haven't read this book, I would recommend this book because it's a lot of interesting things to talk about. And I always find it interesting when you read a book and then when we get together with all the people in my book club, when we talk about it, we could all read like one section and then we all get something different out of it. So I always think that's really interesting because I'm like, ooh, I didn't even think about that. Or when I read this, I thought this, and now that you're saying this, it kind of makes me think of it differently. So you should definitely read that book because it's really good. And I'm going to take a drink of water, and I have a pickle jar. Does anyone else save their jars? I always save like my pickle jars, and what else? Like when I buy pasta sauce and I don't know, anything else that comes in a jar, I always just save them, and then I drink water out of them. Or whatever you want to drink. I just like to drink water. So yes. The next book that I read in the book of March was Redeeming Love. This book was actually a reread for me. I read this book maybe 5 years ago. I don't know. 4, 5, I don't know. Maybe like 5 years ago. Yes, I read this book, but it's really good. In this book, you're following a girl named Angel, and she kind of has a hard life. Her mom was a mistress and she kind of had her, and her dad didn't really want anything to do with her. He didn't want her. And the mom and the dad break up, and because the mom and the dad break up, the mom is destitute. She tries to go back home to her family, and they're like, you made this decision to leave. You decide to have this baby out of wedlock. We can't help you. They kind of put her out. And so her mom turns to a life of prostitution, and her mom winds up dying, and she has no family. And there's a man that kind of lives with her mom. His name is Rab. And so he finds someone to adopt Angel. That's what he thinks. And so he's really excited because he's like, you know, your mom's last wish was for me to take care of you, and I'm doing this. I'm getting you adopted by this really like rich man. He's going to take care of you. He's going to send you to school, all these things. But lo and behold, the man who he thinks is going to adopt Angel is not trying to adopt her. He has like a fetish for little girls. And so this kind of one action kind of turns Angel's life upside down. And so it starts off when she is 8, and you follow her up when she is 18, which is 10 years later. So she's been with this man for 10 years, and kind of like he used her, and when he got tired of her, he kind of started loaning her out to her friends. And so you're following her. Now she is in Paradise in California during the gold rush. So this is written in the past, and she's living in a brothel. And she's kind of at the point where she's like, I'm tired of this. Like, I can't live like this anymore. I just want to live by myself. And this man sees her one day, and he feels like God spoke to him, and he's supposed to marry her. And so it kind of follows their journey of, he does marry her. He actually saves her. She gets beaten really bad, and he saves her and kind of nurses her back to life. And it kind of follows her journey and his journey of her trying to accept love and receive love, and realize that every man in her life doesn't necessarily want to use her, that she can do something else with her life besides just be an object. And he's trying to learn how to like love unconditionally and all those things. So it's a really, really good read. I really liked reading it. I feel like the first time I read it, it spoke to me in one way, and then this time I read it, it spoke to me in a different way. So I definitely recommend this book, and I would say it's a really, really good read. The next book that I read is We Live for the We. And y'all don't laugh at me. It's a library book. It probably should have been turned in like 3 or 4 weeks ago, but my library is closed. So that's why I still have this book. So yes, but I checked and they're not charging me a fine. So we're just going to keep it till this little, till we can leave the house again, and then I'm going to definitely turn it in. So yes, I read this book because I don't remember. I feel like I either heard about this book on a podcast that I listened to, or I may have saw it over at Bookstagram. Or maybe like I heard it on the podcast and I saw it on Bookstagram. I don't know. But this is a really, really good book. This is written by a woman who has just had a baby. In this book, she's kind of talking about from birth up until her daughter is 2 years old. And kind of just all the things that she wants for Iz as she grows up. The type of parent that she wants to be. And it really kind of talks about how like parenting as someone who's African American, it's kind of like a political act. There's so much that goes into it that a lot of people don't think about or maybe don't even know when you become a parent. And I feel like I can relate to this book a lot because I am a mom. I have 3 kids, and just navigating being a mama and what that means and how that looks for me, and how it may differ from other mom friends that I have in my life. This book really, really spoke to me. I definitely recommend this book. If you are a mom, if you know someone who's a mom, if you just work with kids in any way, I will say this book is really, really good. And it really spoke to me. I really love this book, and I'm so glad that I got the opportunity to read it. So you should go get it. The next book that I read is Black Sunday. I won this book over on Instagram in a giveaway. I was so excited. I have never won a giveaway before, and so I was so excited. I feel like it was meant to be. So when I first saw this book, I was like, ooh, I need to read it. I just really love the cover. Something about it spoke to me. And then it's about twins, and I am a twin mom. So I was like, okay. And then when I kind of heard what the book was about, I was like, I really want to read it. And it was really funny because I entered the giveaway, and she was announcing the winner on a live. And lives are really hard for me because I don't always get to listen to them because they're always like at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And like I said, I have 3 kids and I need to put them to bed. And so I was actually listening to this during bath night that night. And when I heard her call my name, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so funny because normally I never get to finish lives. And I know what it was. When I was watching this live, my phone died. And so my phone died and I had to go get my charger and plug it up. And when I turned it, when my phone came back on from charging and all that stuff, it was actually the part right where she was getting ready to announce the names. And so when she announced the names and I heard my name, I was like, oh my gosh, I was so excited. So yes, I should probably tell you guys about this book. So in this book, we're following a family. It mostly focuses on these twin sisters. They grew up in Nigeria and they start off life kind of very well middle class. And tragedy kind of strikes. Mom loses her job, so then they're kind of bumped down a class. Then dad can't find work and they're bumped down a class. And then their family kind of finds solace in this church. Well, they start going to this church. They start being active members. And one of the members of the church is like, I have this wonderful idea. All you guys have to do is invest this money and you're going to be rich and all these things. So they pretty much, what the dad does, the one thing that they have that's kind of keeping their family together is their home. The mom's parents gifted them a home when they got married. And so they're like, even if everything is crazy, even if we're broke, at least we have this home. No one can take this from us. Well, you know what the dad does? He goes and mortgages the house and gives this money to these people and doesn't tell anyone. Well, lo and behold, it was a scam. They took their money, they ran, and now they are homeless and they don't know what they're going to do. And so what happens is one night the mom decides to leave. She goes off to America. The dad drops them off at their grandma's house and he is gone like a turkey through the comb. My mom always says that. It's just gone. He kind of goes and lives his life. And so now these kids are left to kind of navigate their lives and kind of grow, because when this happens, they're 10 years old. And so one thing that I really, really liked about this book is it showed how all 4 of the siblings all experienced the same traumatic experience of parents losing their job, mom leaving, dad leaving, and kind of being dropped off on this grandma's doorstep, who honestly kind of didn't want them. She had no choice but to accept them, but it wasn't part of what she wanted. The dad just kind of dropped them off and left. And so I loved it. It kind of showed how when you have trauma in your life and you don't deal with it, how it kind of follows you throughout your life. Both sisters and the brothers kind of the traumatic experience that they had when they were kids kind of was something that was a catalyst for the rest of their life, and it followed them everywhere they went. It kind of how do I say, dictated their lives almost, and how they navigated life. And also, this book was full of so many quotes. Okay, I'm going to try to find the quote. I know I do this every time, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to find the quote before I talk to you guys, but I didn't. So there was 2 quotes that really spoke to me, and I'm going to read it. The first one, if you do have this book, is on page 264, and one of the twins is telling a story that her grandmother said, and it says, according to my grandmother, Okolani worship declined because of transatlantic slavery. Women were afraid to worship the ocean because she punished her daughters severely for desecrating her. All the mothers in the village by the ocean wanted to be free to tell their children, run into the ocean if you see white men coming. If they catch you, jump into the sea. But if you worship Okolani, you could not dare do that. It says, I had many nightmares that I was a captive on a slave ship and that people were jumping to my right and my left. But I could not. I did not want to offend my mother goddess. And she was kind of just talking about how she felt trapped and how she couldn't free herself. And I thought that was very interesting how they said that, because this book focused a lot on traditional religion and how they worship the ocean and the wind and all those things. And that quote really spoke. Okay, guys, and the last book that I read for the month of March that I really enjoyed was Everything is Everything by Nicola Yoon. I feel like with the other books I didn't say who the authors were, but that's okay. I'll put it in the description box. So yes, I really enjoyed this book. I found this book in my Goodwill for $1.99, and I really didn't know what it was about. I kind of just liked the cover, so I bought it. In this book, you were following a young girl. I feel like I can't think of anyone's names. Oh, Madeline. And she has just turned 18, but she has never left her house. It is just her and her mom. Her father and her brother died in an accident when she was about 6 months old. And she has this disease where she's pretty much allergic to the world. So she has never left her home. She has all these special machines that purify their air and all those things. And the only people that she actually interacts with in person are her mom and a nurse that come with her. But other than that, those are the only people that she interacts with. Well, she has a new neighbor moves in next door, and they have a son who is about her age, and she kind of is like, wow, he's really cute, I really like him. And they kind of start communicating first through emails. Well, first they start sending each other messages in the window and miming and things, and then they start sending each other emails, and this friendships forms. And so she asked her and the nurse are really close, if he can please just come visit her in the home. She won't tell her mom or anything. And so they agree, and they kind of start this friendship, which leads to this romance. And one night she sees the boy and his dad, they're having a physical altercation, and she decides to run out of her house to try to save him. And the mom freaks out, and she's like, why would you run out of the house? You could die. You can't be in the air. And the mom finds out about the relationship, and she kind of takes everything from her. She fires the nurse. And it's really terrible because this is the only other person besides her mom that she gets to interact with. And kind of in a way, it seems like the nurse kind of understands her more than her mom does. Well, she decides that she had that one little taste of air, and she was like, oh my God, that was the best thing ever. So she decides to take this trip to Hawaii on her own. She leaves in the middle of the night. She takes the guy with her, and they take this trip to Hawaii. While they're there, she's really nervous and really scared, because she's pretty much I could die taking this trip, but I have to do it. I can't just stay locked in this house anymore. Well, one night when she goes to sleep, she kind of has an episode. Her heart stops beating. They have to call the ambulance, all these things. Her mom brings her home and kind of nurses her back to health, and really just cuts her off. You don't get to talk to anyone, do anything like that. Well, one of the doctors who treated her at the hospital in Hawaii sent her this email, and they're like, not to alarm you or anything, but I really don't think you have this sickness that your mother tells you have. She says you have this disease, but we didn't see anything in there. And the girl is like, well, why did I have that reaction? And they're like, we think you just had an allergic reaction to something. This is why this happened. We also really don't recommend that doctors have family members as patients, because they get too emotionally involved. And so she kind of takes it to her mom, and her mom's like, they don't know what they're talking about. They're crazy, all this stuff. Well, she tells her nurse, and the nurse is like, well, I kind of always suspected something was up. Maybe your mom really just didn't get over the accident that happened with your dad and your brother. They do this blood work, and they find out that nothing is wrong with her. all this time she has been perfectly fine. It's kind of like her mom, I don't want to say had like a mental breakdown, but in a way kind of had a mental breakdown and thought she had to protect her daughter because if she went out into the world, all these bad things could happen to her. And so you're kind of following her journey, like figuring all this out and the love relationship that comes between her and her neighbor. And this was just a really, really beautiful book. I didn't want it to end. I was kind of sad when it ended because I was like, I want to find out about your life. I want to find out like what happened after all this stuff. So it was really interesting. And I heard this is a movie. I haven't yet found the movie, but a couple people that I talked to said the movie is not as good as the book. But we'll see. We'll give it a chance. If I find it, I will watch it and I will let you guys know. So yes, those are all the books that I read for the month of March. Like I said, I had a really good reading month for March, and I'm really excited that I was able to read all these books. So comment down below and let me know, what books did y'all read for March? Did y'all read any of the books that I read? Did any of the books that I read sound really interesting and things that you would be interested in reading? And also how your March is going. And I'm so happy that I was able to make a video. I know it's been forever and a day. I'm not going to say that it won't be a long time till I make another video because who knows what's going to happen. But I'm just really excited I got to make this video and hang out with you guys today. And don't forget to like, to comment, subscribe. Go ahead and hit that like button if you like that video. And then, well, this video. And then also, I'm going to put like my link to my Bookstagram down below. Sometimes I don't make videos all the time, but I kind of post on there a little bit more consistently. Because, you know, it's a lot quicker and a lot easier just to do a quick little post and snap a picture and all those things. So if you want to keep up with me when I'm not on the booktube, you can keep up with me on Bookstagram. So until next time, I shall talk to you guys later. And I hope everyone has an awesome day and an awesome week. And stay home and stay safe. Okay.